What's up, everyone? Nestor Thorango, CEO of SolarWorks Energy, here with Luke Ward of Fusion Power. Two-year double Golden Door Award winner, going on 3-year double Golden Door Award winner. So, thanks for taking some time to chat.
Yeah.
What have we been homies now for over a year now?
Yeah, a year, 2 years.
Yeah, homies. So,
real good. Closer since Switzerland last year.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, I'd love to just learn a little bit more about you and kind of get some of your insights on success. But kind of the first question is, how long have you been doing this, and how long before you realized you were actually pretty good at this job?
How long have I been doing door-to-door or solar?
Yes, both, really.
Door-to-door since 2009, and I realized my first blitz trip that I was good at this.
It's 2009.
2009. It was October of 2009 that I made my first blitz trip. I went from Idaho to Arizona, and I was number one sales rep out there on that. So, and I never sold anything.
Wow. And how long in solar?
Been in solar since May of 2020.
Nice. And so really, almost right away, you were able to start popping golden doors pretty quickly.
Yeah. Sold 117 the first year, had 117 installs. So they just shifted it from 100 to 130 that year. So I missed the golden door that year. But the next year I did 238. Had 238 installs. I did close to 300 installs. 300 sales. Had 238 installs.
That first year, were you self-genning everything, or were you using Setter?
Self-gen. That first year, the majority of the year, the end of the year, I started taking company leads, but the majority of the year was self-gen.
Nice. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what's the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, either in your life or in this industry.
Biggest challenge ever in my entire life, or just in this industry?
Both. I'm curious to hear both.
I would say addiction is the biggest, my biggest struggle that I had in my life. So I was a derelict up until 2006, and so making piss poor choices and always doing the same shit, expecting different results and getting the same shit. So in 2006, November 18, 2006, I made a decision, and that decision changed my life really good. In the industry, it's about sustained consistency. So anybody can do something for, well, not everybody, but most people can do something for a month, right? You can go say, hey, I want to have a big month, but can you repeat that month after month, year after year? That's the hardest part about remaining consistent. So I'm in a space right now where I've been in solar since 2020. I've achieved absolutely amazing results, and so it's about that sustained consistency and continuing to do what works. And so what happens with a lot of people is they'll do it for a time, and then they quit, or they take a sabbatical, or they go back and they transition to something different, and they forget what it was like to be in the trenches. So for me, the big important part about my life is just about the power of consistency and not stop doing what works. Right? You don't stop doing what works. If it works, then you can continue to be consistent at it, and you can have those same results and stuff that you had once before.
Nice. So I'm sure mindset plays a big part of that. Would you agree?
A huge part of that. It's all about mindset, dude. It's ultimately what you believe and conceive you can achieve, and so ultimately it's about always having a watchman at the gate, per se, about the mindset and checking where your mindset is, checking the thermostat in your mindset. If you have a terrible mindset, you're gonna have terrible results. If you're getting into this pity party or you're a victim, you give away all your personal power, all your personal responsibility, and now you can no longer achieve the same type of results and stuff that you once had or that you want. So
how did you learn to develop that? I mean, would you always have that mindset,
No.
or did you learn to?
Books, book after book after book after book after book. I'm an avid reader just like you. Books have revolutionized and changed my life. Book has given me a more than a university education, right? I always encourage everybody to read books. Books can change your life. You've a testimony of that, right? Books have changed your life. Books have changed your perspective on life and give you a paradigm shift that can only be achieved through new information. If you're dealing with the same information, and so often people get set with how they grew up. And if we always follow the rules of how we grew up, most people, generally speaking, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, get a job, stick with the job, work the job until you retire, and then enjoy retirement. And most people are like that. I did not have that perspective growing up, but most people have that perspective. But if you can read one book that has a different information that different information can change the trajectory of your life, give you new information that you can download or input, and immediately change the trajectory of your life for the better. And so, really, it's about sustaining, it's about consistency with reading books, and also applying what I learned in the books. So often, people read a book, and then they don't apply shit. And that book was more than wasted, because now you have the information and you're not acting on it. That book becomes worse than worthless, because now you have the information and you didn't act on it. That's worse than being ignorant. You're not ignorant anymore once you read a good book. So there's a plethora of different books and stuff people can read to revolutionize.
But you know, I'm assuming you weren't always a reader. So like, what initially sparked your curiosity to read? I'm assuming like personal development, mindset books for you, and then you know, what caused that hunger, that fire to get ignited? Was it seeing somebody? Was it being led by somebody?
No, it's just getting into recovery. Most of my life was spent in and out of jails and prisons. So I started going to jail when I was 13 years old. I literally spent the years of 16, 17 in a prison camp for kids. So I spent over a year in jail, and then when I graduated adult, when I was 18, I immediately got arrested for adult charges, and I went to prison when I was 18 years old. And then I got out, and then went back again. It was the recidivism rates off the charts when people continue to go. They get accustomed to that way of life, and they don't know any other way, and they continue to act despite knowing what's going to happen. It's beyond insanity, because insanity's doing the same thing, expecting different results. A lot of times people know the results, and they still continue to act otherwise. And so once I made the decision, and I got clean because my problem was drugs. Well, my problem was me, and the symptom of my problem was drugs. And so I did drugs to medicate the stuff that was going on in my head. Once I made the decision to stop doing drugs and get clean, I made a decision. I make a decision every single day not to get high or not to drink or whatever. But the idea, once I made that decision, I was part of a 12-step program, and you read a book, and you start making fundamental changes that change your being, change the way of your thinking. And immediately from that point on, I continued to do that. I still struggled throughout the periods of recovery. And then a guy I was going through some stuff. I was a construction worker, and I just got fired or quit a job. And a guy told me he read this book, and he was like, "What was it?" And I read it, and I read it one day, and it changed my life.
Was that the recovery book?
No, that changed my life. That changed my life for the good.
Yeah.
That was the foundation of who I am today. But the book was called The Secret.
Oh, okay.
Not the movie. The book. Read it one day.
Is that Bob
changed my
Proctor?
life. Bob Proctor was in there.
Okay.
There's a lot of authors. Charles Handel was in there.
Okay.
There was a lot of authors and stuff.
Believe it or not, I've never read that.
Dude, read it.
Yeah, I know. I actually am reading it.
Powerful book.
Yeah.
Powerful book. Now
Is it like a Napoleon Hill kind of Think
Yes.
and Grow Rich style?
Think and Grow Rich, and that was one of the books I read after that. So as soon as I read that book, then there was a plethora of different books and stuff that started coming into my life. And I really believe in the law of attraction. What we think about, we bring about. And so, knowing that, you got to be able to have the watchman at the tower, because if you let those things in, if you let bad information in, or if you let negativity in, or if you let other people that you're around, the naysayers, the people say you can't do stuff, you let those people in, that's what's going to seep into your mind. And so, when I read that book, I understood, and I finally had the ultimate level of responsibility. So often people are victims, right? When you're a victim, what do? You give away all your power. You have no power. If you're a victim, stuff's being done to you. You have absolutely no power. I refuse to be a victim today, and now I take personal ownership and responsibility in my life. And as a result of that, not just responsibility in the outcomes in my life, but I take responsibility for what's going on inside my brain. And so knowing that, I'm very cautious to what information I'll let in. And I also, I'm not perfect, man. I let in a ton of, even this whole weekend, bro. I let it, dude, I got a ton of garbage rolling around through there. But the idea is perpetually working, consistently working on that stuff to get better. But after reading that book, there was a book after book after book that just started falling to me. Literally, these books were just coming to me. There's 3 or 4 books that I didn't even ask for. They just started falling right in my hands. I became a voracious reader, and I started reading and reading and reading. And I'm still working a construction job. Still doing construction, roofing. Not selling roofs, roofing.
Installing roofing.
Not selling them. Installing roofs.
Wow.
Bro, the worst job on the planet. One of the worst jobs. It's a laborious job, very hard, not a lot of money. I thought it was a lot of money at the time because I got paid. I didn't get paid hourly. I got paid per square. So I'd go and do a 10 by 10 area. I'd get paid $17, and I would try and hammer out as many as I could in a day. And I was still doing that job. And I still did that job for, let's see, I was in 2008 or 2008 when I read the book. I still hammered out construction jobs all the way up until the end of 2009.
Wow.
But the books that started coming into play really changed my perspective and gave me a bunch of new information that I didn't have before. That information was hidden from me, and the information I had was incorrect. It was the wrong operating system. If you put wrong operating system on a computer, you're going to get wrong outcomes, right? And so I had the wrong operating system. As soon as I started downloading these books and putting these books inside my mind, it changed my perspective, and it gave me new information that I could work with that allowed me to be fruitful and allowed me to be not progressive, but a productive member of society for the most part.
That was so sick. So for those of you guys listening, I mean, go back like 4 or 5 minutes and listen to that again, because that's probably one of the most powerful things that I've heard from anybody say. Because it kind of ties into my question of like, what do you think is like, what's like one idea? You kind of talked about the personal responsibility, not giving away your power, but maybe it's something else. But you know, if there's one idea that you feel made you who you are today during that personal development, from the books, from just your aha moments, if there's just like one core idea, belief, maybe.
Well, it really comes out of that personal responsibility, but intertwined with that personal responsibility. So when you take ownership and personal responsibility for your life, you understand that the stuff that we bring about, we think about. And so the thoughts that I'm thinking inside my head, what I think is impossible, what I think is impossible, literally will dictate the course of my life. And you just shared about this when we were upstairs, right? You just literally shared about what David had said. We can't achieve anything more than what our perception of ourselves is, right? We can't vibrate at a higher vibration than what we think is possible. And so knowing that, it really comes down to, for me, the fundamental change was the personal responsibility, but intertwined with that was the law of attraction. So whatever I'm vibrating at is what I'm going to continue to attract in my life. What am I vibrating at? Am I vibrating at a real negative or a low frequency, or am I vibrating at a high frequency? And which choice, and that's a choice we get to make. Yes, stuff's going to happen to us. Yes, we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to be up and down. But ultimately, it's the compound effect. What are we doing consistently? Are we doing this consistently? It's just like, it's a gym habit. Going to the gym one day a week and then eating like shit for the rest of the month is not going to change anything. Now, consistently going to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, consistently compounded over time, will create consequences or effect. Also doing the alternative to that, eating a donut, eating a bag of donuts, eating a box of donuts every single day. We might not see that immediately, but we see that over the trajectory of a 1 year, a 2 year, a 5 year. Everything can be measurable in time. And so if we consistently make bad decisions or have bad thoughts or continue to operate at this low vibration, we're going to continue to get that same stuff over and over and over again.
Wow. So before you got your first Golden Door Award, was that something that you kind of set out to do? Is that something
I didn't even know about the Golden Doors.
Okay.
When I got into this, when I came into, I've been in the door space for a very long time. I worked for a company, I was the top salesman company for an ADT company for years and years and years. And they paid me a very small amount, $500 a sale. Everybody else was making $1,700. But I'm very loyal, and when something works, I was making 6 figures. Dude, 6 figures to me, bro. Coming from working 50-hour work weeks, making $30,000 a year, gross, dude, and then you give me an opportunity where my first year I made $106,000. I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. I thought I had arrived because I didn't think that was possible. And the information I had was so low that I didn't think that, it's like making 6 figures was a lot of money. And so I continued to stay with that company time and time again. And then eventually I opened my own company and I started my own thing. And then, now we're 7 figures, right? And 7 figures, I wasn't taking all that home, but I was grossing 7 figures. I was taking home $250,000, $300,000 a year. And then what ended up happening is COVID happened, which was a blessing. I was pissed that happened because it destroyed my business. My alarm company is based in California. It destroyed my business. I had one guy get arrested in Santa Cruz for knocking doors. They literally arrested him.
Jeez.
and decided him, and they gave him this. It wasn't just a fine; it was an actual infraction. And so, what had ended up happening though is that caused me I found solar, and then I found solar, and I was like, dude, and I don't know if I told you my story. I won't go into detail, but I started doing the dialer because in April Arizona was locked down. And I met these guys, at the beginning of the year, and I ended up getting into it. And I ended up making 4 sales off the dial. And I didn't even know how a solar panel worked. Dude. Didn't know how I got paid. Didn't know anything about commission structure. Didn't know anything like that. I ended up making 4 sales, and I realized at that time the amount of commissions that were involved with that I could make a whole lot of. I could make more money just being a sales rep without even having a team than what I was making, that I was bringing home in alarms. And so I started doing the door-to-door university. So that's literally what taught me how to sell solar. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have someone teach me. I teach people now. I'm like, I'm going to show you what to do. And I'm going to also give you training, but I'm going to show you what to do, and you're going to learn how to do it really well. And I started doing that. And then, through that year, I was a top sales rep in the company. when I got to the company,
Just with the EDU.
just the DDU. That's it. That's the only trainer I had.
Which all of you guys have, by the way.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it every day. Be consistent about it. Be intentional. Do a segment every single day. You will learn from the best of the best, and it will change your sales IQ. So I started doing that, and then when I got to the company, I don't like being second rate. So I'm always wanting to be the best anywhere I go. And so when I came to the company, there was a guy that had 60 sales, a guy that had 50 sales, and a guy that had 40, I had 0. And I made a commitment. I told the owners, I said, I'm going to be the #1 sales rep this year. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And they looked at me like, ha, 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 because, 1 out of 10 guys typically make it. They didn't really give up. And they're like, ha, 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 yeah, right. And then, dude, at the end of the year, bro, I got 117 sales. And I was the #1 sales rep. And so, that changed the perspective. And it really went back into the mindset thing. It went back into, hey, I committed. I'm going to do this. I know it looks impossible. This guy's got 60 sales. I got 0. And I don't even know what I'm doing. And I still made it happen. Just by consistent effort. And then after that year, that was during COVID, during 2021, I think is when they had the thing up there, and I was going to go because they said I don't wear masks. I don't wear masks. So I'm not doing that shit. And then at that time, I learned about the Golden Door, and that following year is when I did 238 installs. And then I got the Golden Door, and then I get hooked on the Golden Door thing. And that year, I got 238. I was the top sales rep out of everybody. Nobody did more sales.
Oh, really?
Nobody
all
in the entire nation.
Winners.
In the entire nation, nobody did more sales.
Wow.
Last year, there was a guy that said he did more sales than me. Now, it's not physically possible to do what he said he did. Not physically, but anyways, we won't get into that. But and then the following year, I set out. That year, I set out, and I got the Golden Door. And the following year, I was like, I want 300 sales this year. And so what I did is I reverse engineered it. Okay, I want 300 sales. What does that look like? What do I have to get on a daily? What do I have to get on a weekly? What do I have to get on a monthly? What do I have to get on a quarterly? What do I have to get on semi-annually? What do I have to get annually? And it came down to 7 sales a week. Very simple process. Very simple. And I had to get a little bit more than 7s because I was going to have fallout. So I set my sale, and I accomplished that. I actually sold 371 accounts, which was by far like more than. I was literally working 6 days a week. I took 2 vacations, very small vacations, where one was a charity trip, one was the annual trip with our company. And I did it, and I achieved it. I achieved exactly what I wanted. And so, that was the power of intention. That was the power of reverse engineering your goal. Anybody can achieve anything. You got to figure out what you want, and then you go, well, how do I achieve that? And then you break it down into smaller bites. You don't try and bite off the whole chunk. It's going to be overwhelming. But if you can say, today I need this, this week I need this, and you can break it down to what do I need to do right now? Yeah. What do I need to do right now?
Love that.
And then now, joining the door-to-door, the elite, or joining door-to-door experts was absolutely phenomenal.
Love that. So maybe you can share, kind of top of the dome, top 3 tips for someone just getting started into this industry.
Don't quit. Don't quit. If you quit, you're giving up on a 7-figure, and maybe 8-figure, maybe 9-figure opportunity. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And the other thing is be consistent in what you do. So it's not about just getting on the doors. So make sure that you're getting on the doors. You're going to get your face kicked in, but that's all experience. When someone tells you no, you put that in your pocket. They just told you how to not sell that person. And through putting in the continual, consistent effort, you get the skills. You're going to probably suck at first. That wasn't good. I didn't know how to sell solar. I didn't know how to set appointments. I mean, I knew how to knock doors. I didn't know what I was doing, but you know what? I didn't lack in my work ethic. I was working 8 hours a day in 120 degrees. And so I consistently put in the effort every single day in and day out, 6 days a week, every single day, despite if it was 120 degrees, didn't matter, I still did it. And I continued to do the training every single day. Literally, Door-to-Door University got me to where I'm at today because I was just willing to consistently, not like do 5 segments one day and then take the week off. Not like that, I would literally consistently do 1 to 5 segments every single day and 7 days a week. Well, and I still do segments today. I still watch them. Yes, absolutely. I still plug in the training. I don't.
Are you reading books at the same time, as well, or is it all?
I'm always reading books. I'm usually listening to a book and then reading a book every month.
Nice.
So.
Okay, how about top 3 tips for someone in or getting into leadership?
Getting into where?
Leadership.
So leadership for me has been, how can I add value? What can I do to add value to someone's life? Not so much, hey, I got to tell this person what to do. How can I add more value? How can I add more value than what I'm receiving? If I can figure out a way to add value, this is my #1 tip. How can I figure out how to add value? It is the #1 key to my leadership skills. if I bring a guy on and he's struggling, or maybe I bring a guy on and I convince him, because I've convinced a lot of guys to sell all their shit, come down to Arizona, and I've convinced numerous guys to do this or quit their job. I convinced the Maricopa County Sheriff to quit his job. I'm like, dude, bro, you don't want to do this. He was like, he just had a baby, and then he went into this call where there's this horrible stuff that happened to kids, and he's like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. And I convinced him to quit his job and come join us. And I'm like, listen, bro, if you just do exactly, I'm going to give you the blueprint, and if you just do this, I promise you that you'll make a substantial amount of income, and you'll be happier than you ever were before. And he did it, and he's happier than he's ever was
still
before.
with you?
Yes, he's still with me today.
Wow.
But number one is how do I add value? Number two is be humble. You got to be humble. You got to understand, and you got to be receptive to what people are telling you. You got to really actually listen to people, because so often I get in the habit of just wanting to talk. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why did he do that? Well, 2 ears to listen with and 1 mouth to talk. And so you got to really listen to people. And then number 3 is figure out a strategy on what's best for them. Figure out, what do you want? Like, what do you want as a leadership role? What is the end goal here? And how is that going to fit in with whoever you're trying to lead? Like, how is that going to fit in with theirs? And then get them to buy in to what you're putting down. Like, I can say, hey, this is my dream, this is my vision, but what's their dream? What's their vision? If I'm listening, I can formulate something that will help that person along the way. And then people are much more apt, law of reciprocity, they're much more apt to be able to achieve what I want if they can get what they want along the way. The greatest quote on the planet is Zig Ziglar. You can get anything you want as long as you're able to help someone else get what they want. And so that is the greatest quote of all time.
I love that. That's great. Maybe some more tactical points. What are your favorite talking points or ways of closing, whether in the door, kind of some talk tracks that you like, kind of go-tos that really work for you? And really
Not talk tracks, stories.
Okay.
Stories sell. Every single time, stories are going to sell. You can't bombard people with information. If I give you a bunch of information, you're going to remember, 5% of the information. You remember any of that shit. But if I tell you a story with it, right? If I leverage your story, I've been telling my story all the time. You guys are going to remember that stuff because stories are memorable. Now, in that story, there's got to be 3 components to it, or at least 2 components to it. Component number 1, it's got to be a sense of urgency, a reason to act today. Number 2, it's got to be benefits for them. And they have to see themselves living out those benefits. They have to equate the story and apply it to themselves. Most of us, when we hear a story, we look at it from our perspective and we're imagining what it's like to be that character. And so if you can tell them a story that's riddled with urgency and then also has benefits and stuff in place of it, these people are going to be emotionally involved. And then when you go to the numbers, as long as the numbers make logical sense, this is the third component. As long as the numbers make logical sense, you backed it up with an emotional sense and a sense of urgency, and now you back it up with logic, dude. It's a no-brainer. Like, it's literally a no-brainer. Like, you would not do this. Like, there's no reason why you wouldn't do this. Absolutely no reason. And then when you can riddle it with a story that's going to get someone emotionally involved and talk about the problem, talk about the solution, and have an urgency, you got to be a reason to act today. And one call closed, dude. I don't go back. Never go back. Ever. Never go back. I have a customer right now. He's been chasing me for like 3 months, dude. I'm like, bro, if I leave here today, I'm busy. I'm not going to be able to answer your call, dude. He's literally been blowing me up since I've been here. I don't have time. I don't have time, dude. I told him that from the beginning. And now if I'm just like, oh, okay, let me go send you, what do? I'm a liar. It's literally, I don't have time. Like, I have so many deals in the pipeline, and I'm always looking forward. I'm never looking behind. And so if I'm always looking forward, I don't have time to worry about the stuff that happened in the past and stuff. And so number one thing, if you're in the home or if you're even on the door, stories are very powerful, and stories will get people emotional. The number one thing with knocking doors is you got to break preoccupation. So how are you going to do that? You're not going to be like every other sales guy that's ever come to their door, dude. So if you're in a saturated market, I live in Arizona. Some people say it's saturated. I think it's a gold mine, dude. There's 327 days of sun. It's the greatest place on earth to go solar, right? 327 days of sun a year. I don't care about the margins there. If there's 327 days, it makes it the greatest place on the planet to go solar. Now, the idea with that is, like, if I go to their door and I'm like, hey, yeah, hey, I'm just like the other 4 or 5 guys that come to your house. The person's immediately going to slam the door. Like, dude, I've already had this opportunity. There's going to be another 50 guys that have this opportunity. I'm not going to do business with you. But when I come to the door, I'm like, hey, this is super important. Come out here. I got to talk to you real fast. Step outside. That immediately, when I come to your door and I say, hey, this is really important, what are you thinking? Dude, you're like, bro, what is this? Yeah. It broke all your preoccupation. Yeah. At that point, you're like, dude, what's important? What's going on here? What's happening? And then you leverage it with some sort of story. Hey, People are really upset right now. Did you guys get the bill? Did you guys get the insert from the utility company talking about the rate increase? They're going up 22% here in December. Did you guys get that? Or were you guys aware of that? Most people don't even know. Let me just tell you what we did for the Joneses down the street, and then I'll leverage an anecdote with a story from down the street of someone that went solar with me. I'll know the neighborhood, I'll know the people in there. Immediately broke the preoccupation. I talked about the problem, and then I'm going to talk about the solution, and I do a pullback, and then I'm able to leverage and get in the door. I'm able to get at least to get the appointment, set the appointment up, and then I come back there. And I leverage with a pullback. So typically my appointment ratio is going to sit 1 out of 3 or so. It's going to sit.
Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah. That's great, man. That's great. Back to books real quick. So what a couple top book recommendations. So The Secret was one.
No, but if you're looking at a sales game, How to Master the Art of Sales by John Hopkins, the greatest sales book of all time. The greatest sales book of all time. Yep, the Bible of sales books, right?
Really?
The Bible of sales books. I've read it 4 or 5 times. I've listened to it. I've read it and I've listened to it. And I listened to it that year that I did 300. I listened to it probably every single day. Every single day I listen to segment. He talks about tactics and skills and stuff that you're able to leverage and use. If you're talking about personal developments, there's so many. First is like what information you have that's meaningful and powerful to you. Mine is a whole perspective on life and whole ownership, ownership and being able to transform my life through my thoughts and through what I'm doing and stuff on a daily basis. The Secret was one of them, but that was just the stepping stone. I couldn't get into the meat. I had to do the milk. That's a milk book, right? Okay. That's a milk book with perspective. And then there's just a series of books and stuff that are so on and so forth from there. But sales, if you want to do good in sales, read John Hopkins. Absolutely phenomenal book. Phenomenal, absolutely.
Okay, that's another one I've never read, so great.
And the other book that we just read, I was just talking about in the room up there.
Pound the Stone?
Pound the Stone, dude. It's leverage with the story, bro. The book is so memorable, and you get emotionally attached to the character and the story, but then it gives you a plethora of different nuggets. There's nuggets throughout the entire book, dude. It's a powerful book. Powerful, life-changing book, dude. I always encourage anybody to read that book. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, thank you so much, man. This has been super valuable. Tons of nuggets in this interview, and thanks for just being a good friend, man.
I appreciate it,
All
bro.
right. Yeah.
What time is it?